Shabbat Shalom, guys. Let's go ahead and bow our heads and pray. Yahweh, guide us in your wisdom and lead us in your way. Open up your word to those who lack understanding. And I thank you for the knowledge that you have given me and the fellowship that I have found with my brothers and my sisters. It is all things to you. Praise El Shaddai, Yahweh. Keep your servant strong in your truth. Sharpen our swords and make us wise. And send your son, Yahusha, to comfort us. He leads the sheep back to the flock. And without him, all of this would be for nothing. And we are so eternally grateful for our Mashiach, Yahusha. And we love him so much. Make us like your son, Yahweh. He is the goal. And in Yahusha's name we pray. Amen. Excuse me. Hold on, guys. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome to Torah Truth Fellowship of Yahusha. I am your host, Brianna, and welcome back, brothers and sisters, to the Torah Portion. I am so excited to get into this. So if you've been with me since the beginning of my Torah Portions, you know that we've already covered the book of Genesis, and now we are beginning the book of Exodus, which is my personal favorite book in the Torah. The story, the foreshadowing, the symbolism, all of it. It's all so amazing, and it truly comes to life when you have understanding of the truth. So we are going to be doing the Torah portions a little differently than before. Still feel free to get your Bible out and follow along with me. This Torah portion is going to cover Exodus chapter 1, verse 1, to chapter 6, verse 1. And as most of you know, the entries for my book giveaway actually closed on Wednesday afternoon at 5 p.m. And stay tuned to the end of this video to see who the lucky winner is. I am so super excited to make this announcement, and I hope to be able to do more of these in the giveaway. I hope to be able to do more giveaways in the future. Okay, so bear with me, guys. We're going to try to move through this as quickly as we possibly can, but this is going to be a little bit long, so bear with me. Beginning in chapter 1 of Exodus, if you want to follow along, now is the time to do so. Another thing we are going to be doing differently in the Torah portions is we are now going to go over the material section by section. Instead of how we previously read a whole chapter and then discussed what we read, the book of Exodus needs to be broken down this way so you can see the progression of events and how and why all of this happened. And how it's all going to happen again very soon. We are going to start off by going over lines 1 through 7, which shows Israel increasing a lot in Egypt, multiplying like crazy. So Exodus 1 through 7. Now these are the names of the children of Yasharel, which came into Mizraim. Every man in his household came with Yaakov, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Yishakar, Zuvulun, and Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Yaakov were 70 souls. For Yosef was in Mizraim already. And Yosef died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Yasharel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. So the first thing I want to establish here is how the Hebrews got to the state that they were in. Exodus, it kind of just jumps right into things, and it doesn't really give us like much of a background story on anything. They went from having Joseph as a king to Joseph dying, and now they're in bondage. So what happened in between? What led up to all of this? And this is where the book of Jasher or Yashar comes in. And we paralleled a good bit of this book with Genesis and the book of Jasher. So we're going to be doing the same thing here. So quickly, we're going to read all of Jasher chapter 58. So Jasher 58, 1 through 30. And it came to pass in the 32nd year of Yasharel going down to Mizraim, that is in the 71st year of the life of Joseph. In that year died Pharaoh, king of Mizraim, and Magron, his son, reigned in his stead. And Pharaoh commanded Joseph before his death to be a father to his son Magron, and that Magron should be under the care of Joseph and under his counsel. And all Mizraim consented to this thing, that Joseph should be king over them, for all the Mizraim loved Joseph. As of heretofore, only Magron, the son of Pharaoh, sat upon his father's throne, and he became the king in those days in his father's stead. Magron was 41 years old when he began to reign, and 40 years he reigned in Mitzrayim. And all Mitzrayim called his name Pharaoh after the name of his father, as it was their custom to do in Mitzrayim to every king that reigned over them. Sorry if I keep looking up, guys. I have a pot of water on the stove, and I'm just making sure it's not boiling yet. So, sorry. Where was I? Okay, and it came to pass, when Pharaoh reigned in his father's stead, he placed the laws of Mitzrayim and all the affairs of the government in the hand of Joseph, as his father had commanded him. And Joseph became king over Mitzrayim, for he superintended over all Mitzrayim, and all Mitzrayim was under his care and under his counsel, for all Mitzrayim inclined to Joseph after the death of Pharaoh, and they loved him exceedingly to reign over them. But there were some people amongst them who did not like him, saying, "No stranger shall reign over us." Still, the whole government of Mitzrayim devolved in those days upon Joseph. After the death of Pharaoh, he being the regulator, doing as he liked throughout the land without anyone interfering, and all Mitzrayim was under the care of Joseph. And Joseph made war with all his surrounding enemies, and he subdued them. And also all the land of the Pelishtim unto the borders of Canaan did Joseph subdue. And they were all under power, and they gave a yearly tax unto Joseph. And Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, sat upon his throne in his father's stead, but he was under the control and counsel of Joseph, as he was at first under the control of his father. Neither did he reign in the land of Mitzrayim, only under the control of Joseph. But Joseph reigned over the whole country at that time, from Mitzrayim unto the great river Parath. And Joseph was successful in his ways, and Yahweh was with him. And Yahweh gave Joseph additional wisdom and honor and glory and love toward him in the hearts of the Mitzrayim and throughout the land. And Joseph reigned over the whole country 40 years. In all the countries of the Pelishtim and Canaan and Sidon and on the other side of the Jordan brought presents unto Joseph all his days, and the whole country was in the hand of Joseph. And they brought unto him a yearly tribute as it was regulated. For Joseph had fought against all his surrounding enemies and subdued them, and the whole country was in the hand of Joseph. And Joseph sat securely upon his throne in Mitzrayim. And also all his brethren, the sons of Yaakov, dwelt securely in the land all the days of Joseph, and they were fruitful and multiplied exceedingly in the land, and they served Yahweh all their days, as their father Yaakov had commanded them. And it came to pass at the end of many days and years, when the children of Esau were dwelling quietly in their land with Bela their king, that the children of Esau were fruitful and multiplied in the land, and they resolved to go fight with the sons of Yaakov and all Mitzrayim to deliver their brother Sepho the son of Eliphaz and his men, for they were yet in those days slaves to Joseph. All right, give me just a moment, guys. All right. And the children of Esau sent unto all the children of the east, and they made peace with them. And the children of the east came unto them to go with the children of Esau to Mitzrayim to battle. And there came also unto them the people of Angias, king of Dinabah. And they sent unto the children of Yishmael, and they also came unto them. And all this people assembled and came to Seir to assist the children of Esau in their battle. And this camp was very large and heavy with people, numerous as the sand of the sea, about 800,000 men, infantry and cavalry. And all these troops went down to Mitzrayim to fight with the sons of Yaakov, and they encamped by Ramesses. And Joseph went forth with his brethren, with the mighty men of Mitzrayim, about 600 men, and they fought with them in the land of Ramesses. And the sons of Yaakov at that time fought against the children of Esau. In the 50th year, the sons of Yaakov, going down to Mitzrayim, that is the 30th year of the reign of Bela, over the children of Esau in Seir. And Yahweh gave all the mighty men of Esau and the children of the east into the hand of Joseph and his brethren. And the people of the children of Esau and the children of the east were smitten before Joseph. And of the people of Esau and the children of the east that were slain, there fell the sons of Yaakov about 200,000 men. And their king, Bela, the son of Beor, fell with them in the battle. And when the children of Esau saw that their king had fallen in battle and was dead, their hands became weak in the combat. And Joseph and his brethren and all Mitzrayim were still smiting people in the house of Esau. And Esau's people were afraid of the sons of Yaakov and fled from before them. And Joseph and his brethren and all Mitzrayim pursued them a day's journey, and they slew them about 300 men, continuing to smite them in the road. And they afterward turned back from them. And Joseph and all his brethren returned to Mitzrayim. Not one man was missing from them, but of the Mitzrayim there fell 12 men. And when Joseph returned to Mitzrayim, he ordered Sepho and his men to be additionally bound. And they bound them in the irons, and they increased their grief. And all the people of the children of Esau and the children of the east returned in shame, each unto his city, for all the mighty men that were with them had fallen in battle. And when the children of Esau saw that their king had died in battle, they hastened and took a man from the people of the children of the east. His name was Yovav, the son of Zerach, from the land of Batsra, and they caused him to reign over them instead of Bela, their king. And Yovav sat upon the throne of Bela as king in his stead. And Yovav reigned in Edom over all the children of Esau 10 years. And the children of Esau went no more to fight with the sons of Yaakov from that day forward. For the sons of Esau knew the valor of the sons of Yaakov, and they were greatly afraid of them. But from that day forward, the children of Esau hated the sons of Yaakov, and the hatred and enmity were very strong between them all the days unto this day. And it came to pass after this, at the end of 10 years, Yovav, the son of Zerach from Batsra, died, and the children of Esau took a man whose name was Husham from the land of Taman. And they made him king over them instead of Yovav. And Husham reigned in Edom over all the children of Esau for 20 years. And Joseph, the king of Mitzrayim, and his brethren, and the children of Yasharel, dwelt securely in Mitzrayim in those days, together with the children of Joseph and his brethren, having no hindrance or evil accident in the land of Mitzrayim, was at that time at rest from war in the days of Joseph and his brethren. So, we see that Pharaoh, he died at the age of 71, the one that befriended Joseph and gave him the power that he has. That Pharaoh, he died at the age of 71, and then his son begins to reign in his stead, who is 41. And he reigned for 40 years. And Joseph was still king, and he still handled all the affairs of Egypt, just as Magron's father had commanded. All is going well right now. Joseph is very well loved in Egypt, but there began to be some people who were becoming jealous of Joseph, and they said, no stranger is going to rule over us. And then we see that in between all of this time, quite a few wars happened in the land of Egypt, all of which Joseph prevailed and subdued them, and he ended up gathering taxes from people. And we see that there was a huge battle between the children of Jacob and the children of Esau, huge war, and the children of Jacob prevailed over the children of Esau. And for this, the children of Esau now hate the children of Jacob, and they still hate them to this day. So, and Joseph was successful in all of his ways. His fruit was very prosperous. And how, brothers and sisters, do we produce prosperous fruit? Psalms 1:1-3. Blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the Torah of Yahweh, and in his Torah he meditates day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of waters, that brings forth fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. But Joseph, he stayed, because Joseph stayed in the word, and because he walked in the way, Yahweh made his deeds to prosper. He gave Joseph additional wisdom beyond the Torah, and he gave him honor and glory and love towards him in the hearts of the Egyptian people. Yahweh did this for him. He did not obtain these things on his own doing. Yahweh did this for him because Yahweh loves him and because he loves Yahweh. So then next we see that the children of Esau, they arise up against the children of Jacob. And remember, the children of Esau, they are the seed that is bred for destruction. And it's really interesting when preparing for battle that the children of Esau gather all the children of the east to go and fight with them. Their wickedness is deeply seated, brothers and sisters. This rabbit hole, they call it, is bottomless. Satan has a thing about the east. The sun rises in the east, and he has his followers. He has them face towards the east when they worship him. Satan faces the direction of the east. So it's interesting that Esau gathered all of the other wicked men to come to battle with him, all of who were found on the eastern side of him. So it's so interesting how deep this really goes once those rose-colored glasses are ripped right off of your face. So, and if you are still wearing those rose-colored glasses, I want you to take them off right now. Take them off, stomp on them, and allow your spirit to wake up. We need to be waking up, brothers and sisters. This is all very black and white. There is no room for any gray area here. So the children of Esau and the children of Ishmael and the other children of the east, they all gather together and they make a camp at Ramesses, and they're ready for battle. And they were all smitten by Joseph and his men. About 2,000 men died. And when the remaining children saw that their king, the king was dead, Bela, they were terrified and they began to retreat. And then Joseph and his brothers, they followed them about a day's journey, still smiting them in the road. And out of Joseph and his brethren, not one man fell. But of the Egyptians that came along with them into battle, they lost 12. And once they fled and they saw that their king was dead, they appointed a new one, Yovav or Jobab. And the children of Jacob and Esau, they didn't war anymore after this. But the children of Esau, they grew a great hate in their heart for their brethren, the children of Jacob. And from this day forward unto this very day now, the children of Jacob dwelt in peace in the land of Egypt after this. And now we are going to read the rest of chapter 1 in Exodus, and we're going to come back and go over some things. So let's go ahead and read the rest of the chapter, picking up on line 8. So Exodus 1, 8 through 22. Now arose up a new king over Mitzrayim, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the children of Yasharel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falls out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so to get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasured cities like Pithom and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because the children of Yasharel. And the Mitzrayim made the children of Yasharel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And the king of Mitzrayim spoke to the Ivri midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the other was Puah. And he said, and we're going to see something really interesting about this here in a few. And he said, when ye do the office of a midwife to the Ivrith woman, see them upon the stools. If it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim, and did not as the king of Mitzrayim commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Mitzrayim called for the midwives, and said unto them, Why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, Because the Ivrith women are not as the Mitzrith women, for they are lively, and delivered heir to the midwives come in unto them. Therefore Elohim dealt with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, Every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. So now I want to go over line 8, and I want to establish some things before we move forward. And we're going to get a further background here so as to what was actually going on these times. So Exodus 1, line 8, it says, Now there arose up a king over Mitzrayim, which knew not Joseph. So it all begins with a new king arising in Egypt who didn't know who Joseph was or any of the great deeds that he and his brethren did for the Egyptians. So we're going to begin with Jasher 59, 25 through 28. And it came to pass that after this, Joseph died in that year, the 71st year of Yasharel going down to Mitzrayim. And Joseph was 110 years old when he died in the land of Mitzrayim. And all his brethren and all his servants rose up, and they embalmed Joseph, as was their custom. And his brethren and all Mitzrayim mourned over him for 70 days. And they put Joseph in a coffin filled with spices and all sorts of perfume, and they buried him by the side of the river that is in Shikor. And the sons and all of his brethren and the whole of his father's household made a 7-day mourning for him. And it came to pass after the death of Joseph, all the Mitzrayim began began in those days to rule over the children of Yasharel. And Pharaoh, king of Mitzrayim, who reigned in his father's stead, took all the laws of Mitzrayim and conducted the whole government of Mitzrayim under his counsel, and he reigned securely over his people. So we see the death of Joseph, and they lay him to rest, and they mourn over him for 7 days. And after Joseph died, it did not take long for the Egyptians to begin taking rule over the Hebrew people. Now we're going to read Jasher 61, 1 through 11. And it came to pass at that time, Pharaoh, the king of Mitzrayim, commanded all his people to make for him a strong palace in Mitzrayim. And he also commanded the sons of Yaakov to assist the Mitzrayim in the building. And the Mitzrayim made a beautiful and elegant palace for a royal habitation. And he dwelt therein, and he renewed his government, and he reigned securely. And Zuvalin, the son of Yaakov, died in that year. That is the 72nd year of the going down of Yasharel to Mitzrayim. And Zuvalin died 114 years old, and was put into a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And in the 75th year died his brother Shemoth. He was 120 years old at his death, and he was also put in a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, captain of the host to Angeas, king of Dinabah, was still daily enticing Angeas to prepare for battle to fight with the sons of Yaakov in Mitzrayim. And Angeas was unwilling to do this thing, for his servants had related to him all the might of the sons of Yaakov, and what they had done to them in their battle with the children of Esau. And Sepho was in those days daily enticing Angeas to fight with the sons of Yaakov in those days. And after some time Angeas hearkened to the words of Sepho, and consented to him to fight with the sons of Yaakov in Mitzrayim. And Angeas got all of his people in order, a people numerous as the sand which is upon the seashore. And he formed his resolution to go to Mitzrayim to battle. And amongst his servants of Angeas was a youth 15 years old, Bilam, the son of Beor, was his name, and the youth was very wise and understood in the art of witchcraft. And Angeas said unto Bilam, Conjure for us, I pray you, with the witchcraft, that we may know who will prevail in this battle which we are now proceeding. And Bilam ordered that they... I just lost my spot. And Bilam ordered that they should bring him wax, and he made thereof the likeness of the chariots of the horsemen representing the army of Angeas and the army of Mitzrayim. And he put them in the cunningly prepared waters that he had for purpose. And he took in his hand the boughs of myrtle trees, and he exercised his cunning, and he joined them over the water, and there appeared unto him in the water resembling images of the host of Angeas falling before the resembling images of the Mitzrayim and the sons of Yaakov. And Bilam told this thing to Angeas, and Angeas despaired and did not arm himself to go down to Mitzrayim to battle, and he remained in his city. So after Joseph dies, we see the rest of the children of Jacob, they begin to grow old and die as well, Joseph's brothers. And at this time, Pharaoh wanted these great cities to be built for him, and he wanted all the children of Egypt to do this for him, and he asked the sons of Jacob if they would assist their Egyptian brethren and help them to build these cities. And also at this time, Sepho, a son of Esau, he fled from Egypt, and he came to Angeas, who was the king of Africa, and he asked him to make war with the sons of Jacob to avenge his brethren. And remember, we read earlier how the sons of Jacob killed Esau, and they slew his men in the war. And the sons of Esau hated the sons of Jacob from that day to this day. So Angeas wouldn't do this because of the things that he had heard about the sons of Jacob, their strength and their might. But then finally, I guess Angeas was tired of Sepho bothering him, and he finally caved in and said that he would go to war. So Angeas and Sepho brought a host of battle with them they brought a host for the battle with them, as the sand of the sea. It was innumerable. And amongst the people was Bilam and his father Beor, both magicians. And Bilam was very skilled in witchcraft. So Angeas, the king of Africa, asked Bilam to look into the future and to see who was going to win the battle. He basically used a form of witchcraft called scrying. And this is where you look into a mirror or water or fire, or the most common one is a crystal ball. And you basically stare into it, and you ask whatever question, or you say whatever repetition or incantation or whatever, and then you just stare into the water or the mirror or the ball or whatever, and you go into like a trance. While you stare into whatever that you're using, you begin to see images, symbols, whatever. You only ever get fragments, and because of free will, everything is always subject to change because Satan's magic has limitations. Trust Yahweh. He is sure and he is true. So, anyways, in this vision, Bilam shows Angeas, him and his host of men falling to the sons of Jacob. And Angeas did not like this, so he did not arm himself and his men to go to battle. He stayed home on this one. He said, I'm out. You're going to have to count me out on this one. So now we are on Jasher 62, 1 through 5, and 24 through 25. In that year, being the 79th year of Yasharel going down to Mitzrayim, died Reuben, the son of Yaakov, in the land of Mitzrayim. Reuben was 125 years old when he died, and they put him into a coffin, and he was given into the hands of the children. And in the 18th year died his brother Dan. He was 120 years at his death. He was also put into a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And in that year died Husham, the king of Edom, and after him reigned Hadad, the son of Bedad, for 35 years. And in the 81st year died Issachar, the son of Yaakov, in Mitzrayim. And Issachar was 122 years old at his death, and he was put into a coffin in Mitzrayim and given into the hands of his children. And in the 82nd year died Asher, his brother, and he was 123 years old at his death, and he was placed into a coffin in Mitzrayim and given into the hands of his children. And in the 83rd year died Gad, and he was 125 years old at his death, and he was put into a coffin in Mitzrayim and given into the hands of his children. Oh, no. Uh-oh, hold on. I just exited out. Uh-oh. Hold on, you guys. Okay. We were on Gad. And he was put into a coffin in Mitzrayim and given into the hands of his children. In the 89th year died Naphtali, and he was 132 years old, and he was put into a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And it came to pass in the 91st year of Yasharel going down into Mitzrayim, that is, in the 30th year of the reign of Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, over the children of the Kittim, the children of Africa came upon the children of the Kittim to plunder them as usual, but they had not come upon them for these 30 years. And once again, we see the children of Jacob growing old and dying, the brothers, Joseph's brothers. They're all getting old and they're all dying, one by one. Jasher 64, 10 through 15. And Sepho sent messengers to Hadad, son of Bedad, king of Edom, and to all his brethren, the children of Esau, saying, Did you not say that you would not fight against the king of Africa, for he is a member of your covenant? Behold, I fought with him and smote him and all his people. Now therefore I have resolved to fight against Mizraim and the children of Yaakov, who are there. And I will be revenged of them for what Joseph and his brethren and ancestors did to us in the land of Canaan, when they went up to bury their father in Chevron. Now then, if you are willing to come to me and assist me in fighting against them and Mizraim, then we shall avenge the cause of our brethren. And the children of Esau hearkened to the words of Sepho. And the children of Esau gathered themselves together, a very great people, and went to assist Sepho and the children of Kittim in battle. And Sepho sent to all the children of the east and to the children of Ishmael with words like unto these, and they gathered themselves and came to the assistance of Sepho and the children of the Kittim in the war upon Mitzrayim. And all these kings, the king of Edom and the children of the east and all the children of Ishmael and Sepho the king of Kittim went forth and arrayed their host in Chevron. And the camp was very heavy, and extending a distance of 3 days' journey, a people numerous as the sand upon the seashore, which cannot be counted. And all these kings and their hosts went down and came against all Mitzrayim in battle, and encamped together in the valley of Pathrock. And all Mitzrayim heard the report, and they also gathered themselves together. And all the people of the land of Mitzrayim and of all the cities belonging to Mizraim, about 300,000 men. And the men of Mizraim sent also to the children of Yasharel, who were in those days in the land of Goshen, to come to them in order to go and fight with these kings. And the men of Yasharel assembled, and were about 150 men. And they went into battle to assist the Mizraim. And the men of Yasharel and of Mizraim went forth, about 300,000 men and 150 men. And they went towards these kings to battle, and they placed themselves from without from without the land of Goshen, opposite Pathrock. And the Mitzrayim believed not in Yasharel to go with them in their camps together for battle. For all the Mitzrayim said, perhaps the children of Yasharel will deliver us into the hand of the children of Esau and Yishmael, for they are brethren. And all the Mitzrayim said unto the children of Yasharel, remain you here together in your stand, and we will go fight against the children of Esau and Yishmael. And if these kings should prevail over us, then come you all together upon them and assist us. And the children of Yasharel did so. And Stepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, king of Kittim, and Hadad, the son of Bedog, king of Edom, and all their camps, and all the children of the east, and all the children of Yishmael, a people numerous as the sand, encamped together in the valley of Pathrock, opposite of I don't know how to say this one. Takpanah? I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that. Forgive me. And Bilam, the son of Beor, the Arami, was there in the camp of Stepho. And he came with the children of Kittim to the battle. And Bilam was a man highly honored in the eyes of Stepho and his men. And Stepho said unto Bilam, try by divination for us, that we may know who will prevail in the battle, we or the Mitzrayim. And all the men of Yasharel and all the Mitzrayim went forth, about 300,000 men and 150 men. And they went towards these kings to battle, and they placed themselves from without the land of Goshen, opposite Pathrock. And Mitzrayim believed not in Yasharel to go with them in their camps together for battle. For all the Mitzrayim... I already read this. I copied the same thing twice, I guess. Okay. And Bilam rose up and tried the art of divination, and he was skillful in the knowledge of it. But he was confused, and the work was destroyed in his hand. And he tried it again, but did not succeed. And Bilam despaired of it, and left it, and did not complete it. For this was from Yahweh, in order to cause Stepho and his people to fall in the hand of the children of Yasharel, who had trusted in Yahweh, the Elohim of their ancestors, in their war. And Stepho and Hadad put their forces in battle array, and all the Mitzrayim went alone against them, about 300,000 men, and not one man of Yasharel was with them. And all the Mitzrayim fought with these kings opposite Pathrock, and I'm not sure how to say that city. And the battle was very severe against the Mitzrayim. And the kings were stronger than the Mitzrayim in that battle. About 180 men of Mitzrayim fell on that day, and about 30 men of the forces of the kings. And all the men of Mitzrayim fled from before the kings. So the children of Esau and Yishmael pursued the Mitzrayim, continuing to smite them unto the place where was the camp of the children of Yasharel. And all the Mitzrayim cried unto the children of Yasharel, saying, hasten to us and assist us and save us from the hand of Esau, Yishmael, and the children of Kittim. And the 150 men of the children of Yasharel ran from their station to the camps of these kings. And the children of Yasharel cried unto Yahweh Elohim to deliver them. And Yahweh hearkened to Yasharel. And Yahweh gave all the men of the kings into their hand. And the children of Yasharel fought against these kings. And the children of Yasharel smote about 4,000 of the king's men. And Yahweh threw a great consternation into the camp of the kings, so that the fear of the children of Yasharel fell upon them. And all the hosts of the kings fled from before the children of Yasharel, and the children of Yasharel pursued them, continuing to smite them unto the borders of the land of Cush. Give me just a moment, guys. Where was I? And the children of Yasharel slew them in the road, yet 2,000 men. And of the children of Yasharel not one fell. And when the Mitzrayim saw that the children of Yasharel had fought with such few men with the kings, and the battle was so severe against them, all the Mitzrayim were greatly afraid for their lives on account of the strong battle, and all the Mitzrayim fled, every man hiding himself from the arrayed forces. And they hid themselves in the road, and they left Yasharel to fight. And the children of Yasharel inflicted a terrible blow upon the king's men, and they returned from them after they had driven them to the border of the land of Cush. And all Yasharel knew the thing which the men of Mitzrayim had done to them, and they had fled from them in the battle, and had left them to fight alone. So the children of Yasharel also acted with cunning. And as the children of Yasharel returned from battle, they found some of the Mitzrayim in the road, and smote them there. And while they slew them, they said unto them these words, Wherefore did you go from us and leave us, being a few people, to fight against these kings who had a great people to smite us, that you might thereby deliver your own souls? And of some which Yasharel met on the road, they, the children of Yasharel, spoke to each other, saying, Smite, smite, for he is a Yishmaeli, or an Edami, or from the children of Kittim. And they stood over him and slew him, and they knew that he was a Mitzri. And the children of Yasharel did these things cunningly against the Mitzrayim, because they had deserted them in battle and had fled from them. And the children of Yasharel slew of the men of Mitzrayim in the road in this manner, about 200 men. And all the men of Mitzrayim saw the evil which the children of Yasharel had done to them. So all the Mitzrayim feared greatly the children of Yasharel, for they had seen their great power, and that not one man of them had fallen. So all the children of Yasharel returned with joy on their road to Goshen. And the rest of Mitzrayim returned each man to his place. Okay. So we see that Sepho ends up going to war with Angeas, the king of Africa. And Bilam, the magician, saw Sepho prevail over Angeas and his men. So Bilam jumps ship and he goes to see Sepho. And Sepho receives him with open arms because he has heard all about the wisdom of Bilam, the magician. And after Sepho won, he sent word to all the children of Esau and of the east, and he said, you guys, told the king you wouldn't fight against him because of the covenant that you hold with him. Well, behold, I smote them all. And he said, next we're going to go to Egypt, and we're going to fight with Joseph's brethren, and we're going to get revenge on them. So the children of Esau gather together, and they go make war in Egypt. The camp he brought with him was huge. It says it extended a length of 3 days' journey. And they had camped outside of Egypt. And when the Egyptians got word, Pharaoh assembled all of his men, about 300,000 of them. And he assembled all the brethren of Jacob as well, about 150 Hebrew men. So the Egyptians, being weary, told the Hebrews, hey, you guys are going to stay and wait here. If you see that we start losing, then you guys can come and jump in. But until then, you just wait right here. Because they were scared that the children of Jacob would be traitors. So before they battle, Sepho tells Bilam to do a divination for this, so to see if they will prevail in battle. And Bilam, who was said to be very skilled in black magic, he tried to do his divination, but instead he became confused and the work was destroyed right in his hand. And then he tried it again and it didn't work. And it was then that Bilam, he knew that this was from Yahweh. He knew Yahweh was doing this to him. In order that Sepho and his men fall in the war. Because you can't curse what Yah has blessed. Bilam sought to curse Yahweh's children, and Yahweh wasn't having that. So remember, Satan's magic has limitations. He is not more powerful than Yahweh. And then the Egyptians, they started getting their butts kicked, and they began to retreat and run away. And while retreating, they led the camps of Sepho right to the children of Jacob. So the 150 men of Yasharel, they began storming at these men and shouting to Yahweh to deliver them. And the children of Israel smote the men and prevailed over them, 150 men compared to thousands. Can you just even imagine that? That is how amazing and how good the Elohim that we serve is. He allowed 150 loyal men that are loyal and faithful to him prevail over thousands. And he did this sort of thing more than once. So all the kings, they fled, and the children of Jacob chased them down, and they continued smiting them. And when the children of Egypt saw what they had did with just 150 men, they feared for their lives, and they fled. They left them there to fight by themselves. And the children of Israel, they knew what the children of Egypt had done to them. So the children of Israel, they acted with cunning. And on their way home, when they came across an Egyptian soldier, they smote him. They said, "Why did you leave us behind? So you could deliver your own souls?" And everyone they came across, they chanted, "Smite, smite." He could possibly be a Yishmaeli or an Edami or of the Kittim. And they did this because the children of Egypt left them behind. And the children of Egypt saw the things that the children of Israel had done, and not one of them had died. So they feared greatly. And now we're going to read chapter 65 and most of 66 in Joshua as well. And this is where it starts to get interesting. This is where we learn just how the Hebrew people came into slavery in Egypt. It did not just happen overnight. One day they were free and the next day they were slaves. It did not happen. That happened over a span of time. So let's check it out. Joshua 65, 1 through 38. And it came to pass after these things that all the counselors of Pharaoh, king of Mizraim, and all the elders of Mizraim assembled and came before the king and bowed down to the ground, and they sat before him. And the counselors and elders of Mizraim spoke unto the king, saying, Behold, the people of the children of Yasharel is greater and mightier than we are, and you know all the evil which they did to us in the road when we returned from battle. And you have also seen their strong power, for this power is unto them from their fathers. For but a few men stood up against the people, numerous as the sand, and smote them at the edge of the sword, and of themselves not one has fallen. So that if they had been numerous, they would have utterly destroyed them. Now therefore give us counsel what to do with them, until we gradually destroy them from amongst us, lest they become too numerous for us in the land. For if the children of Yasharel should increase in the land, they will become an obstacle to us. And if any war should happen to take place, they, with their great strength, will join our enemy against us, and fight against us, destroy us from the land, and go away from it. So the king answered the elders of Mizraim, and said unto them, This is the plan advised against Yasharel, from which we will not depart. Behold, in the land of Pithom, and behold, in the land are Pithom and Ramesses, cities unfortified against battle. It behooves you and us to build them, and to fortify them. Now therefore go you also and act cunningly toward them, and proclaim a voice in Mizraim and in Goshen, at the command of the king, saying, All ye men of Mizraim, Goshen, Pathrock, and all their inhabitants, the king has commanded us to build Pithom and Ramesses, and to fortify them for battle. Who amongst you of all Mizraim, and of the children of Yasharel, and of the inhabitants of the cities, are willing to build with us, shall each have his wages given to him daily at the king's order. So go you first, and do cunningly, and gather yourselves, and come to Pithom and Ramesses to build. And while you are building, cause a proclamation of the king to be made throughout Mizraim every day at the command of the king. And when some of the children of Yasharel shall come to build with you, you shall give them their wages daily for a few days. And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourselves away from them daily, one by one, in secret. And then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers. And you shall leave them afterward to build without wages. And should they refuse, then force them with all your might to build. And if you do this, it will be well with us to strengthen our land against the children of Yasharel. For on account of the fatigue of the building and the work, the children of Yasharel will decrease, because you will deprive them from their women day by day. All the elders of Mizraim heard the counsel of the king, and the counsel seemed good in their eyes, and in the eyes of the servants of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all Mizraim, and they did according to the word of the king. And all the servants went away from the king, and they caused a proclamation to be made in all Mizraim, and in Taphanach, I don't know how to say that, and in Goshen, and in all the cities which surrounded Mizraim, saying, You have seen what the children of Esau and Ishmael did to us, who came to war against us and wished to destroy us. Now therefore the king commanded us to fortify the land, to build the cities Pithom and Ramesses, and to fortify them for battle. And if they should again come against us, whosoever of you from all Mizraim and from the children of Yasharel will come to build with us, he shall have his daily wages given by the king, as his command is unto us. And when the Mizraim and the children of Yasharel heard all that the servants of Pharaoh had spoken, there came from Mizraim and the children of Yasharel to build with the servants of Pharaoh Pithom, and Ramesses. But none of the children of Levi came with their brethren to build, and all the servants of Pharaoh and his princes came first with the deceit to build with Yasharel as daily hired laborers, and they gave to Yasharel their daily hire at the beginning. And the servants of Pharaoh built with all Yasharel and were employed in that work with Yasharel for a month. And at the end of the month, all the servants of Pharaoh began to withdraw secretly from the people of Yasharel daily, and Yasharel went on with the work at that time. But they then received their daily But they then received their daily hire, because some of the men of Mitzrayim were yet carrying on the work with Yasharel at that time. Therefore the Mitzrayim gave Yasharel their daily hire in those days, in order that they, the Mitzrayim, their fellow workmen, might also take the pay for their labor. And at the end of a year and 4 months, all the Mitzrayim had withdrawn from the children of Yasharel, so that the children of Yasharel were left alone, engaged in the work. And after all the Mitzrayim had withdrawn from the children of Yasharel, they returned and became oppressors and officers over them. And some of them stood over the children of Yasharel as taskmasters, to receive from them all that they gave them for the pay of their labor. And the Mitzrayim did in this manner to the children of Yasharel day by day, in order to afflict in their work. And all the children of Yasharel were alone engaged in the labor. And the Mitzrayim refrained from giving any pay to the children of Yasharel from that time forward. And when some of the men of Yasharel refused to work on account of the wages not being given to them, the exactors and the servants of Pharaoh oppressed them and smote them with heavy blows, and made them return by force to labor with their brethren. And thus did all the Mitzrayim unto the children of Yasharel all the days. And all the children of Yasharel were greatly afraid of the Mitzrayim in this manner. And the children of Yasharel returned and worked alone without pay. And the children of Yasharel built Pithom and Ramesses, and the children of Yasharel did the work, some making bricks, and some building, and the children of Yasharel built and fortified all the land of Mitzrayim and its walls. And the children of Yasharel were engaged in work for many years, until the time came when Yahweh remembered them and brought them out of Mitzrayim. But the children of Levi were not employed in the work with their brethren of Yasharel, from the beginning unto the day of their going forth from Mitzrayim. For all the children of Levi knew that the Mitzrayim had spoken all these words with deceit to Yasharel. Therefore the children of Levi refrained from approaching to work with their brethren. And the Mitzrayim did not direct their attention to make the children of Levi work afterward, since they had not been with their brethren at the beginning. Therefore the Mitzrayim left them alone. And the hands of the men of the Mitzrayim were directed with continued severity against the children of Yasharel in that work. And the Mitzrayim made the children of Yasharel work with rigor. And the Mitzrayim embittered the lives of the children of the Yasharel with hard work in mortar and bricks, and also in the manner of work in the field. And the children of Yasharel called Melol, the king of Mitzrayim, Meror, the king of Mitzrayim, because in his days the Mitzrayim had embittered their lives with all manner of work. And wherein the Mitzrayim made the children of Yasharel labor, they exacted with rigor in order to afflict the children of Yasharel. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and the Mitzrayim were grieved because of the children of Yasharel. So the children of Egypt, they were afraid and jealous of the children of Jacob, and they hated. And this hatred had been brewing for some time now. So Pharaoh took counsel to figure out what to do with them. So they devised a plan to deal deceitfully with Israel. And Pharaoh wanted all of these magnificent cities built for him. So the children of Egypt and the children of Israel were to work together at first, building these cities for pay, slowly over the span of a couple years. And the Egyptians slowly withdrew from their labor crews. As long as Pharaoh's men were working, they were all getting paid. But once all of Pharaoh's men withdrew themselves, the Hebrews stopped getting paid, and then they were turned into slaves, being beaten and whipped, and their women being raped, their children murdered. They were very sorely afflicted, and if they refused to work, they were beaten, and then they were put back to work. And the children of Jacob became very terrified of these people that they were once friends with. So they worked without pay, except for the children of Levi. They never went with their brethren to work. They left the land of Goshen because they knew the Egyptians were dealing deceitfully with their brethren. But since they never came to work with their brethren, Pharaoh never approached them, and he left them alone. And the children were put to a fierce and tiresome labor. But the more the Egyptians afflicted them, the more and more the children of Yasharel increased and grew in size. And one more thing from Jasher, and then we're going to move on to chapter 2. And I think we're actually only going to go through chapters 1 and 2 tonight, because we still have a lot to cover, you guys. And I'm not even halfway through this, and unfortunately, you guys know I pre-record these things, and it is unfortunately a school night for me. So I think we're going to get through Exodus chapter 1 and chapter 2 tonight, and then we are definitely going to pick up on the rest next week. So I think that's how it's going to have to be. Let me see. How much do we got in chapter 2? Can we get through chapter 2? Let me see. Okay, we're going to try to make it through chapter 2, guys. Let's try and make it through chapter 2. It's a lot to cover, but I think we can get through it kind of quickly. So, let's get back to where we were. Okay, so Jasher, we're going to read most of Jasher chapter 66. Jasher chapter 66, lines 6 through 31. And when the Mitzrayim heard this matter, they increased the labor upon the children of Yasharel, lest Yasharel should do unto them as they did unto them in their war with the children of Esau in the days of Hadad. So the Mitzrayim said unto the children of Yasharel, Hasten and do your work, and finish your task, and strengthen the land, lest the children of Esau, your brethren, should come to fight against us. For on your account will they come against us. And the children of Yasharel did the work of the men of the Mitzrayim day by day. And the Mitzrayim afflicted the children of Yasharel in order to lessen them in the land. But as the Mitzrayim increased the labor upon the children of Yasharel, so did the children of Yasharel increase and multiply. And all Mitzrayim was filled with the children of Yasharel. And in the 125th year of Yasharel's going down into Mitzrayim, all the Mitzrayim saw that their counsel did not succeed against Yasharel, but that they increased and grew, and the land of Mitzrayim and the land of Goshen were filled with the children of Yasharel. So all the elders of Mitzrayim and its wise men came before the king and bowed down and sat before him. And all the elders of Mitzrayim and the wise men thereof said unto the king, May the king live forever. You did counsel us the counsel against the children of Yasharel, and we did unto them according to the word of the king. But in proportion to the increase of the labor, but in proportion to the increase of the labor, so do they increase and grow in the land. And behold, the whole country is filled with them. Now therefore, our Adonai and King, all the eyes of the Mitzrayim are upon you to give them advice with your wisdom, by which they may prevail over Yasharel to destroy them, or to diminish them from the land. And the king answered them, saying, Give you counsel in this matter, that we might know what to do unto them. And an officer, one of the king's counselors, whose name was Eov, from Aram Naharaim, the land of Uz, answered the king and said, If it please the king, let him hear the counsel of his servant. And the king said unto him, Speak. And Eov, who is also known as Job, and yes, this is Job from the book of Job, he spoke before the king and the princes, and before all the elders of Mitzrayim, saying, Behold, the counsel of the king, which he advised formerly respecting the labor of the children of Yasharel, is very good. And you must not remove from them that labor forever. But this is the advice counseled by which you may lessen them, if it seems good to the king to afflict them. Behold, we have feared war for a long time, and we said, when Yasharel becomes fruitful in the land, they will drive us from the land if a war shall take place. If it please the king, let a royal decree go forth, and let it be written in the laws of Mitzrayim, which shall not be revoked, that every male child born to Yasharel, his blood shall be spilled upon the ground. And by your doing this, when all the male children of Yasharel shall have died, the evil of their wars will cease. Let the king do so, and send for all the Ivri midwives, and order them in this matter to execute it. So this thing pleased the king and the princes, and the king did it according to the word of Eov, or Job. And the king sent forth the Ivri midwives to be called, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the other was Puah. And the midwives came before the king and stood in his presence. And the king said unto them, when you do the office of a midwife to the Evrith woman, and you see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then he shall live. But if you will not do this thing, then I will burn you up and all your houses with fire. But the midwives feared Elohim, and they did not hearken to the king of Mizraim, nor his words. And when the Evrith women brought forth to the midwife a son or a daughter, then did the midwife do all that was necessary to the child, and let it live. Thus did the midwives all the days. And this thing was told to the king. And he sent and called for the midwives, and he said to them, Why have you done this thing, and have saved the children alive? And the midwives answered and spoke together before the king, saying, And the midwives came before the king, and stood in his presence. And the king said unto them, Oh, I copied it twice. Oops, hold on. Where was I? I did the same thing twice. I copied and pasted the same thing twice. Okay. And the midwives answered and spoke together before the king, saying, Let not the king think that the Evrith women are as the Mizrith women, for all the children of Yasharel are lively, and before the midwife comes to them, they are delivered. And as for us, your handmaids, for many days no Ivri woman has brought forth upon us, for all the Evrith women are their own midwives, because they are lively. And Pharaoh heard their words, and believed them in this matter. And the midwives went away from the king, and Elohim dealt well with them, and the people multiplied and waxed exceedingly. So, all right, the children here, we have the children of Edom. They were going to engage in war with the children of the Kittim, which is another term used for the isles of Greece and Rome, in that area, and they decided to not go and fight with them. And then Pharaoh heard of this thing, and he thought that the children of Edom would come upon him and fight with Yasharel to avenge their brethren again, whom Yasharel slew along with the Mitzrayim. So because Pharaoh was scared, he afflicted the children of Yasharel even more. He made their labors even harsher. But the more Pharaoh increased their labor, and the more the children of Yasharel increased in numbers. So Pharaoh and his council sit down to figure out how they were going to solve this problem that they had, and they decide that all the babies born of the Ivri women, if they were males, they should be killed. And Pharaoh tells the Ivri midwives this thing, and he sends them on their way. And two of the particular midwives that he happens to be talking to here are none other than the soon-to-be mother of Moshe, or Moses, and his sister, Miriam. And they did not, and we will find that out later. I will show that to you later. They did not listen to Pharaoh's command, and they spared the Ivri boys. And because of this, Yahweh built them houses. But we are going to learn that he didn't literally build them physical houses. He built them spiritual houses. From the wombs of these two women were the priestly houses built. Hallelujah. All right, so now we're going to get into chapter 2. We're going to try to move through this pretty quickly. And then we'll pick up the rest next week, chapters 3 through 6. So this is where things are going to start picking up. We're going to begin with lines 1 through 10. Exodus 2, 1 through 10. And there went a man of the house of Levi, and he took to be his woman a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the reeds by the river bank, and his sisters stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Ephraim children. And then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call you a nurse of the Evrith women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take the child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it, and the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, and she said, Because I drew him out of the water. So now we're going to get into the birth of Moses and how he came to live in Pharaoh's household. His mother hid him for 3 months after he was born, but it became harder to hide him, and we actually learn that she knew what time Pharaoh's sister was going to be out to take her bath. it was planned, making sure that she got Moses. So let's take a look at this account in the book of Jasher. We're going to read all of Jasher 67. Okay. There was a man in the land of Mizraim, of the seed of Levi, whose name was Amram, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, the son of Yasharel. And the man went and took a woman, namely Yocheved, the daughter of Levi, his father's sister. And she was 126 years old, and he came unto her. And the woman conceived and bore a daughter, and she called her name Miriam, because in those days the Mitzrayim had embittered the lives of the children of Yasharel. And she conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Aaron. For in the days of her conception, Pharaoh began to spill the blood of the male children of Yasharel. And in those days died Sepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, king of Kittim. And Giannis reigned in his stead. We're going to learn later on that Giannis is the son of Balaam, the magician. So Giannis reigned in his stead. At the time that Sepho reigned over the children of Kittim was 50 years, and he died and was buried in the city of Nabna, in the land of Kittim. And Giannis, one of the mighty men of the children of Kittim, reigned after him, and he reigned 50 years. And it was after the death of the Kittim that Balaam, the son of Beor, fled from the land of Kittim, and he went and came to Mizraim, to Pharaoh, the king of Mizraim. And Pharaoh received him with great honor, for he had heard of his wisdom, and he gave him presents, and made him for a counselor, and aggrandized him. And Balaam dwelt in Mizraim, in honor with the nobles of the king, and the nobles exalted him, because they all coveted to learn his wisdom. And in the 130th year of Yasharel's going down to Mizraim, Pharaoh dreamed that he was sitting upon his kingly throne, and lifted his eyes and saw an old man standing before him. And there were scales in the hands of the old man, such scales as were used by merchants, scales to weigh things. And the old man took the scales, and he hung them before Pharaoh. And the old man took all the elders of Mizraim, and all his nobles and great men, and he tied them together, and he put them in one side of the scale. And he took a milk kid, and he put it into the other side of the scale. And the kid preponderated over all. He prevailed over all. And Pharaoh was astonished at this dreadful vision, why the kid should preponderate over all. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And Pharaoh rose up early in the morning, and called all his servants, and related to them the dream. And the men were greatly afraid. And the king said to all his wise men, Interpret, I pray you, the dream which I dreamed, that I may know it. And Balaam, the son of Beor, answered the king, and said unto him, This means nothing else but a great evil that will spring up against Mizraim in the latter days. For a son will be born to Yasharel, who will destroy all Mizraim and its inhabitants, and bring forth Yasharel from Mizraim with a mighty hand. Now therefore, O king, take counsel upon this matter, that you may destroy the hope of the children of Yasharel and their expectation, before this evil arise against Mizraim. And the king said unto Balaam, What shall we do unto Yasharel? Surely after a certain manner did we first counsel against them, and could not prevail over them. Now therefore give you also advice against them, by which we may prevail over them. And Balaam answered the king, and said, Send now, and call your 2 counselors, and we will see what their advice is upon the matter, and afterward your servant will speak. And the king sent and called his 2 counselors, Ruel the Midiani, and Eov, Job the Uzzi. And they came, and they sat before the king. And the king said to them, Behold, you have both heard the dream which I have dreamed, and the interpretation thereof. Now therefore give counsel, and note, and see what is to be done to the children of Yasharel, whereby we may prevail over them, and before their evil shall spring up against us. And Ruel the Midiani answered the king, and said, May the king live forever. If it seem good to the king, let him detest from the Ephraim, and leave them, and let him not stretch forth his hand against them. For these are they whom Yahweh chose in the days of old, and took as the lot of his inheritance from amongst all the nations of the earth, and the kings of the earth. And who is there that stretched his hand against them with impunity, of who their Elohim was not avenged? Surely you know that when Avraham went down to Mizraim, Pharaoh, the former king of Mizraim, saw Sarah his woman, and took her for a woman. But because Avraham said, She is my sister, for he was afraid lest the man of Mizraim should slay him on account of his own woman. And when the king of Mizraim had taken Sarah, then Elohim smote him and his household with heavy plagues, until he restored unto Avraham his woman Sarah. Then he was healed. And Avimelech the Gerai, the king of the Pelishtim, Elohim punished on account of Sarah, the woman of Abraham, and he stopped up the womb from every man and beast. When their Elohim came to Abimelech in the dream of the night, he was terrified. And terrified him in order that he might restore to Abraham Sarah, whom he had taken. And afterward, all the people of Gerar were punished on account of Sarah. And Abraham prayed to his Elohim for them, and he was entreated of him, and he healed them. And Abimelech feared all this evil that came upon him and his people, and he returned Abraham his woman Sarah, and gave him with her many gifts. He also did so to Yitzhak, when he had driven him from Gerar, and Elohim had done wonderful things to him, that all the watercourses of Gerar were dried up, and their productive trees did not bring forth fruit, until Abimelech of Gerar and Akuzath, one of his friends, and Pichol, the captain of the host, went to him, and they bent and bowed down before him to the ground, and they requested of him to supplicate for them, and he prayed to Yahweh for them, and Yahweh was entreated of him and healed them. Yaakov also, the plain man, was delivered through his integrity from the hand of his brother Esau, and the hand of Lavan the Arami, his mother's brother, who had sought his life. Likewise from the hand of all the kings of Canaan, who had come together against him, and his children to destroy him. And Yahweh delivered them out of their hands, and they turned upon them and smote them. For who had ever stretched forth his hand against them with impunity? Surely Pharaoh, the former, your father's father, raised Joseph, the son of Jacob, above all the princes of the land of Mitzrayim, when he saw his wisdom. For through his wisdom he rescued all the inhabitants of the land from the famine. After which he ordered Yaakov and his children to come down to Mitzrayim, in order that through their virtue the land of Mitzrayim and the land of Goshen might be delivered from the famine. Now therefore, if it seem good in your eyes, cease from destroying the children of Yasharel. But if it be not your will that they should dwell in Mitzrayim, send them forth from here, that they may go to the land of Canaan, the land where their ancestors sojourned. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Just a second. And when Pharaoh heard the words of Yithro, another name for Ruel, who becomes Moses' father-in-law later, he was angry with him, so that he rose with shame from the king's presence, and went to Midian, his land, and took Joseph's stick with him. And the king said to Eov, the Utzi, What say you, Eov? And what is your advice respecting the Ephraim? So Eov said to the king, Behold, all the inhabitants of the land are in your power. Let the king do as it seems good in his eyes. And the king said unto Bilam, What do you say, Bilam? Speak your word, that we may hear it. And Bilam said to the king, Of all that the king has counseled against the Ephraim, will they be delivered? And the king will not be able to prevail over them with any counsel. For if you think to lessen them by the flaming fire, you cannot prevail over them. For surely their Elohim delivered Abraham, their father, from Ur of the Kesadim. And if you think to destroy them with a sword, surely Yitzhak, their father, was delivered from it. Oh, no. No, go back. Oh, hold on, guys. I just lost my spot. No. Hold on. Oh, no.
Friend called the bar. The bronze catfish. The swines do give up a low-level toxin when attacked by other fish.
Or being swallowed by a dumbass human.
Okay.
To worry about. So, they're not freaking out.
No. So it doesn't really change anything, right?
Except for like everything. Because Owen's kid, he's gonna want to be in his life. He's gonna want to raise him, right?
All right. Surely Yitzhak, their father, was delivered from it, and a ram was placed in his stead. And if with hard and rigorous labor you think to lessen them, you will not prevail, even in this, for their father Yaakov served Lavan in all manner of hard work and prospered. Now therefore, O king, hear my words, for this is the counsel which is counseled against them, by which you will prevail over them, and from which you should not depart. If it pleases the king, let him order all the children which shall be born from this day forward to be thrown into the water, for by this you can wipe away their name, for none of them, nor of their fathers, were tried in this manner. And the king heard the words of Bilam, and this thing pleased the king and the princes. And the king did according to the word of Balaam. And the king ordered a proclamation to be issued and a law to be made throughout the land of Mizraim, saying, every male child born to the Ivrim from this day forward shall be thrown into the water. And Pharaoh called unto his servants, saying, go now and seek throughout the land of Goshen, and where the children of Yasharel are, and see that every son born unto the Ivrim shall be cast into the river, but every daughter you shall let live. And when the children of Yasharel heard this thing which Pharaoh had commanded, to cast their male children into the river, some of the people separated from their women, and others adhered to them. And from that day forward, when the time of delivery arrived, those women of Yasharel who had remained with their men, they went to the field to bring forth there. And they brought forth in the field, and left their children upon the field, and returned home. And Yahweh, who had sworn to their ancestors to multiply them, sent one of his ministering angels, which are in heaven, to wash each child in water, to anoint and swathe it, and put into its hands two smooth stones, from one of which it sucked milk, and from the other honey. And he caused its hair to grow to its knees, by which it might cover itself, to comfort it and to cleave to it, through his compassion for it. And when Elohim had compassion over them, and had desired to multiply them upon the face of the land, he ordered his earth to receive them, to be preserved therein till the time of their growing up. After which the earth opened its mouth, and vomited them forth, and they sprouted forth in the city like the herb of the earth, and the grass of the forest. And they returned each to his family, and to his father's house, and they remained with them. And the babes of the children of Yasharel were upon the earth like the herb of the field, and through Elohim's grace to them. And when all the Mizraim saw this thing, they went forth, each to his field, with his yoke of oxen and his plowshare, and they plowed it up as one plows the earth at seed time. And when they plowed, they were unable to hurt the infants of the children of Yasharel. So the people increased and waxed exceedingly. And Pharaoh ordered his officers daily to go to Goshen and seek for the babes of the children of Yasharel. And when they had sought and found one, they took it from its mother's bosom by force, and threw it into the river. But the female child they left with its mother. Thus did the Mitzrayim do to Yasharel in all the days. So we see Moshe's mother conceived and gave birth to Miriam first, and then Aaron, and then we see after Sepho dies, Bilam, the son of Beor, he fled the land of Kittim, and he went to Mizraim. And I want you to keep in mind as well that we are going to be uncovering some hidden knowledge here in just a moment. And then we see that Pharaoh has a dream that he doesn't understand. Kind of similar to what we saw in Joseph's time. Pharaoh dreams that he is sitting upon a throne, and he lifts up his eyes, and he sees this old man standing before him. And in his hands are scales like merchants used to weigh things. And the old man, he hangs these scales up in front of Pharaoh, and the man took all the elders and nobles of Mizraim, and he put them on one end of the scale. And then he took a kid of the goats, and he put it on the other end of the scale. And this kid, who was still nursing, ruled over them all. And he was talking about Moshe. And Pharaoh was astonished at this. He didn't understand why this goat would be ruling over them all. So, of course, he summons all of his wise men and his magicians, and namely Balaam. Balaam tells him that a great evil will spring up in the latter days, that his son will be born out of Yasharel, and will bring them forth out of Mizraim with a mighty hand. So Pharaoh is like, okay, well, what now? We've already just tried destroying these people to no avail. And then we see Ruel, the man who would one day become Moshe's father-in-law, and also Eov, who is Job, were also two of the men on Pharaoh's council. And Pharaoh asked his counselors, you've heard the dream, so what should I do now? And Ruel is like, I think you should just leave the Ivrim alone. And they are Yahweh's chosen, and who has stretched out their hand against them and won? And Ruel proceeds to tell them of the mighty deeds that Yahweh has done for his servant's sake. And Pharaoh did not like that answer. So he asked Job. And he's like, what do you think I should do? And Job said, the power of the land is in your hands, do with it as you see fit. Next, the king asked Balaam for his input. And Balaam tells Pharaoh, he says, whatever you conspire against them, they're going to be delivered. You will not be able to prevail over them. Their Elohim will deliver them. And then Balaam gives him the idea to throw all the male children into the river. So the king made it the law throughout Mitzrayim. So now when this happened, some of the men departed from their women, and others clung on down to the women. And eventually it came down to the women sneaking off into the fields to give birth. And sometimes they would just leave the baby there in the field if it was a boy. And this was actually the passage I was looking for last week in the Enoch series. We can compare this with the passage in Ezekiel, I think it's Ezekiel 16. Yahweh sustained these babies and he allowed them to live. By his hand, he did that. And when Pharaoh learned of this, he sent his men to the plow fields and he made them plow the fields. But when they did this, they couldn't hurt the infants. So let's read about that really quickly in Ezekiel. I want to show you guys that real quick. All right. Ezekiel 16, 4 through 14. And as for your nativity, in the day that you were born, your navel was not cut, neither were you washed in water to supple you. You were not salted at all, nor swaddled at all. None eye pitied you, to do any of these unto you, to have compassion upon you. But you were cast out into the open field, to the loathing of your person, in the day that you were born. And when I passed by you, and saw you polluted in your own blood, I said unto you, When were you in your blood? Live, yea, I said unto you, when you were in your blood, live. I have caused you to multiply as the bud of the field, and you have increased and waxen great, and you are come to excellent ornaments. Your breasts are fashioned, and your hair is grown, whereas you were naked and bare. Now when I passed by you and looked upon you, behold, your time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over you, and covered your nakedness. Yea, I swore unto you, and entered into a covenant with you, says Adonai Yahweh, and you became mine. Then I washed you with water, yea, I thoroughly washed away your blood from you, and I anointed you with oil. I clothed you also with broidered work, and shod you with antelope skin, and I girded you about with fine linen, and I covered you with silk. I decked you also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon your hands, and a chain upon your neck, and I put a jewel on your forehead, and earrings in your ears, and a beautiful crown upon your head. Thus were you decked with the gold and silver, and your raiment was of fine linen and silk and broidered work, and you did eat fine flour and honey and oil, and you were exceeding beautiful, and you prospered into a kingdom, and your renown went forth among the heathen for your beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness which I had put upon you, says Adonai Yahweh. And let's look at a couple more references here too, where Yahweh talks about sustaining those babies in the field. Deuteronomy 32, 12 through 14. So Yahweh alone did leave them, and there was no strange El with them. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, so that he might eat the increase of the fields. And he made him to suck the honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock, butter of kine, and milk of sheep, with the fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the fat of kidneys and of wheat. And you did drink the pure blood of the grape. And Psalms 81, 15 through 16. The haters of Yahweh should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. How should have fed them also with the finest of wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied you. And now we're going to read a few more things from the book of Jasher. Jasher 68, 7 through 8, 14 through 17, and 24 through 32. So, and the Mitzrayth women went to Goshen, where the children of Yasharel were, and they carried their young ones upon their shoulders, and their babes who could not yet speak. And in those days, when the women of the children of Yasharel brought forth, each woman had hidden her son from before the Mitzrayim, that the Mitzrayim might not know their bringing forth, and might not destroy them from the land. And his sister Miriam stood afar off to know what would be done to him, and what would become of her words. And Elohim, because Miriam actually, we'll have to go back in the book of Jasher too. Miriam actually prophesied. Miriam was a prophetess, and she actually did prophesy of her brother's coming. So Elohim sent forth at that time a terrible heat in the land of Mitzrayim, which burned up the flesh of a man like the sun in his circuit, and it greatly oppressed Mitzrayim. And all the Mitzrayim went down to bathe in the river, on account of the consuming heat which burned up the flesh. And Bathia, the daughter of Pharaoh, went also to bathe in the river, owing to the consuming heat, and her maidens walked at the riverside, and all the women of Mitzrayim as well. And at the end of 2 years, when the child grew up, she brought him to the daughter of Pharaoh. And he was unto her as a son, and she called his name Moshe, for she said, because I drew him out of the water. And Amram his father called his name Habar, for he said it was for him that he associated with his woman whom he had turned away. And Yocheved his mother called his name Youthziel, because she said, I have hoped for him to El Shaddai, and Elohim restored him unto me. And Miriam his sister called him Yered, for she descended after him to the river to know what his end would be. And Aran, his brother, called his name Avi Zanuk, saying, my father left my mother and returned to her on his account. And Kohath, the father of Amram, called his name Agbigdor, because on his account did Elohim repair the breach of the house of Yaakov, that they could no longer throw their male children into the water. And their nurse called his name Avi Soko, saying in his Avi Sukkah, and saying, in his tabernacle was he hidden for 3 months, on account of the children of Ham. And all of Yasharel called his name Shemayahu, son of Nathaniel. For they said, in his days has Elohim heard their cries, and rescued them for their oppressors. And Moshe was in Pharaoh's house, and was unto Bathia, Pharaoh's daughter, as a son. And Moshe grew up amongst the king's children. So that's something I wanted to point out, is here at the end when it says that Moshe was hidden in the tabernacle for 3 months on account of the children of Ham. That is a connection that most people don't even make. The children of Egypt are the sons of Ham, who is the son of Noah. The children of Egypt are the son. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and to each of whom he gave different regions of land. Ham took the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, and the children of Yasharel were afflicted and enslaved by their own brethren. Now, real quick, we're going to go back to Jasher and read a few lines of that chapter. I want to show you guys how the birth of Moshe can actually be compared and like it to the birth of Noah as well. How much more do we got here? And I think we're actually going to stop here, brothers and sisters. We're going to go ahead and compare Noah and Moses. We're actually going to stop here because this is a lot. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and compare their births, and then we will pick up next week with the rest of chapter 2. Okay, so Jasher 68, 1-6. And it was at that time the Ruach Elohim was upon Miriam, the daughter of Amram, the sister of Aaron, and she went forth and prophesied about the house, saying, behold, a son will be born unto us from my father and mother this time, and he will save Yasharel from the hands of Mitzrayim. And when Amram heard the words of his daughter, he went and took his woman back to the house, after he had driven her away at the time when Pharaoh ordered every male child of the house of Yaakov to be thrown into the water. So Amram took Yocheved his woman 3 years after he had driven her away, and he came to her, and she conceived. And at the end of 7 months from her conception, she brought forth a son. And the whole house was filled with great light, as the light of the sun and the moon at the time of their shining. And when the woman saw that the child was good and pleasing to the sight, she hid it for 3 months in an inner room. In those days the Mitzrayim conspired to destroy all the Ephraim there. So now let's take a look at the birth of Noah, which we can find in the book of Enoch. Enoch 105, lines 1-5. After a time, my son Methuselah took a woman for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him, and brought forth a child, the flesh of which was white as snow, and as red as a rose, the hair of whose head was white like wool and long, and whose eyes were beautiful. When he opened them, he illuminated all the house like the sun. The whole house abounded with light. And when he was taken from the hand of the midwife, Lamech his father became afraid of him, flying away, came to his own father, Methuselah, and said, I have begotten a son, unlike others. He is not of men, but resembling the offspring of the angels of heaven. It is of a different nature, being altogether unlike us. His eyes are as the rays of sun, his countenance glorious, and he looks not as if he belonged to me, but to the angels. I am afraid lest something miraculous should take place on the earth in his days. So now we're going to jump to Jasher 69, 1 through 9.
Open the flower, would you?
So we're going to read a couple more things from Jasher, and then we're going to stop there, actually, because after that we jump into Exodus 2:11 through 14. So we're going to stop there. We will pick up at 2:11 next week. So we got a couple more things from Jasher, and we're going to move forward. All right, Jasher 69, 1 through 9. And the king of Edom died in those days, in the 18th year of his reign, and was buried in his temple, which he had built for himself as a royal residence in the land of Edom. And the children of Esau sent to Pithor, which is upon the river, and they fetched from there a young man of beautiful eyes and comely aspect, whose name was Saul. And they made him king over the place of Samlah, and Shaul reigned over all the children of Esau in the land of Edom for 40 years. And when Pharaoh, king of Mizraim, saw that the counsel which Balaam had advised respecting the children of Yasharel did not succeed, but that they were still fruitful, multiplied, and increased throughout the land of Mizraim, then Pharaoh commanded in those days that a proclamation should be issued throughout Mizraim to the children of Yasharel, saying, no man shall diminish anything of his daily labor, and the man who shall be found deficient in his labor, which he performs daily, whether in mortar or in bricks, then his youngest son shall be put in there in his place. And the labor of Mizraim strengthened upon the children of Yasharel in those days. And behold, if one brick was deficient in any man's daily labor, the Mizraim took his youngest boy by force from his mother, and put him into the building in the place of the brick which his father had left wanting. And the men of Mizraim did so to all the children of Yasharel day by day, all the days for a long period. But the tribe of Levi did not at that time work with Yasharel, their brethren, from the beginning, for the children of Levi knew the cunning of the Mizraim, which they had exercised at first towards Yasharel. So now it had been quite some time since the children of Yasharel had been enslaved. And they were still fruitful and multiply. And Pharaoh saw that what Balaam had told them to do, to cast the male children into the river, it wasn't working. They were still increasing. So Pharaoh made their labor even harsher. He told the men that they were not allowed to stop working. They started taking all the young boys and putting them to work. If the father could not perform the task, they went to his house and they took his youngest son, ripped him from his mother's arms, and they put him to work in his father's stead. All right, now lastly, we're going to read Jasher 70, lines 1 through 10 and 17 through 19. So in the 3rd year from the birth of Moshe, Pharaoh was sitting at a banquet, when Alparanoth, the queen, was sitting at his right hand, and Bathia, his sister, at his left. And the lad Moshe was lying upon her bosom, and Balaam, the son of Beor, with his 2 sons, and all the princes of the kingdom were sitting at the table in the king's presence. And the lad stretched forth his hand upon the king's head, and took his crown from the king's head, and placed it on his own head. And when the king and the princes saw the work which the boy had done, the king and the princes were terrified, and one man to his neighbor expressed astonishment. And the king said unto the princes who were before him at the table, what speak you, and what say you, O ye princes, in this matter? And what is to be the judgment against the boy on the account of this act? And Balaam, the son of Beor, the magician, answered before the king and princes, and said, remember now, Adonai and king, the dream which you did dream many days, since that which your servant interpreted unto you. Now therefore this is a child from the Evrith children, in whom is the Ruach Elohim. And let not my Adonai the king imagine that this youngster did this thing without knowledge, for he is an Ivri boy, and wisdom and understanding are with him. Although he is yet a child, with wisdom he has done this, and chosen unto himself the kingdom of Mizraim. For in this manner of all the Ephraim, to deceive the kings and their nobles, to do all these things cunningly, in order to make the kings of all the earth and their men tremble. Surely you know that Avraham, their father, acted thus, who deceived the army of Nimrod, king of Babel, and of Abimelech, king of Gerar, and that he possessed himself of the land of the children of Sheth, and all the kingdoms of Canaan, and that he descended into Mizraim, and said of Sarah his woman, she is my sister, in order to mislead Mizraim and her king. When Elohim caused a famine throughout the land, he sent for and brought his father and all his brothers, and the whole of his father's household, and supported them without price or reward. And and bought the Mitzrayim for slaves. Now therefore, my Adonai the king, behold, this child has risen up in their stead in Mitzrayim, to do according to their deeds, and to trifle with every king, prince, and judge. If it please the king, let us now spill his blood upon the ground, lest he grow up and take away the government from your hand, and the hope of Mitzrayim perish after he shall have reigned. And Bilam said to the king, let us moreover call for all the judges of Mitzrayim, and the wise men thereof, and let us know of the judgment of death that is due to this boy, as you did say, and then we will slay him. So, first of all, can you even imagine this? Can you just imagine this? Imagine thinking that a toddler is acting with cunning. I mean, in this case, Moses actually really was, though. But Pharaoh and his men, they didn't know that. They had no idea. Bilam knew, though. So, yeah, Moses grabbed Pharaoh's crown off of his head and he put it on his own head. And it scared his men and it scared Pharaoh. They were all very superstitious people. So they tell Bilam what Moses did. And Bilam told Pharaoh, remember the dream you had about the goat a long time ago? The one that I interpreted for you? He said, this child, he is a Hebrew child. And the Ruach Elohim, the Ruach HaKodesh, the set apart spirit, is with him. Don't imagine that this child did this without knowledge. He said he is a Hebrew boy. Wisdom and understanding are with him, and that he has acted with cunning. So now they decide on a judgment, which if Moses fails, they would have killed him. So back to Exodus, and we will circle back to that actually next week. We'll probably actually begin with that, and then we will kind of circle back around. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get to a stopping point here. We will pick this up next week. This is actually a lot lengthier than I thought it was going to be. So let me go ahead and get down to the bottom. Give me just a moment, guys. All right, brothers and sisters, so that brings us to an end for this week's Torah portion. I want to thank everybody who stuck with me till the end of this, and now it is time to draw the name of our lucky winner from the free book giveaway. We unfortunately only had 3 participants, so I got all 3 of you guys' names on a piece of paper here, and we are going to go ahead and shake this up. Let's do a drawing here. I need something I can put over this. Hold on. What can I put over? Here we go. I'll put this over it so I can shake it good. Alright, that should be good, right? Let's go ahead and do a little with the hand. Alright, who is the lucky winner? No, hold on. Hold on. I want to make... I wish I had more. This doesn't... Next time I'm going to have a better method. Alright. I think this should be good. Who is our lucky winner? All right. And, okay, our lucky winner is Brian Espinoza. You are the new owner of a free copy of the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. Congratulations, Brian. Go ahead and get on Facebook and send me a message and let me know your address, and I will get with you and I'll let you know the shipping details and everything. We will get this all squared away. So, all right, I want to thank everybody who did participate in this giveaway. Stay up to date with me on Facebook and my website. I definitely plan on doing more free book giveaways in the future. Let's go ahead and wrap this up with a prayer, you guys. Yahweh, I thank you so much for giving me an opportunity like this one. I pray that you continue to guide me and instruct me in your truth, as well as my viewers. And keep your remnant under your wings, Yahweh. And we thank your Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, We are so grateful that he made it possible for us to come back into covenant with you. And we are so blessed for him to send us his comforting spirit, the same spirit that dwells within you, Abba. And you are the most wonderful, Yahweh. Your loving kindness is so immeasurable. And we praise your name, Yahweh. And we pray for your mercy and to be counted worthy. In Yahushua's name we pray. Amen. All right, brothers and sisters, we will pick back up next week still in Exodus chapter 2. We'll pick back up at line 11. I will see you guys again next week. Enjoy the rest of your Shabbat and Shalom.